Hello, my name is Hamish McDonald, Director of Pegagri. The video you're about to watch is on early polyploidy work performed in Queensland and its independent verification. A polyploidy is a plant that has an extra set of chromosomes. This enables the plant to be able to thrive in conditions that other plants can't, i.e. high salts as well as drought conditions. The trouble with the world today is that 50% of our farmland or irrigated farmland is salt affected. By 2050, this means that these farmlands will produce 25% less food. Also by 2050, our population would have risen to 9 billion people and will require 25% more food. So science needs to find a solution for this. What we intend to do next with polyploidy is to polyploid both cannabis for medical reasons and also industrial hemp varieties for food, flours, oils, etc. As well as after producing these plants will have a high commercial value in their own right. But from this point we'll then gene silence to make specific cannabinoid plants for specific purposes, whether that be for curing of epilepsy or for age-related illnesses, motor neurone disease, etc. I hope you find the video informative, and if you would like any more information, refer to our website. Thank you.
Andrew, before we get into this science that you've been verifying for the last 12 months or so, I'd like to learn a little bit about what you do.
So for the last 15 years I've been working in the area of plant evolutionary genetics, and that's really been looking at the basis of genetic and genomic changes in plants following their evolution and how that changes the composition of those species. I gave a talk recently this year at the International Plant Molecular Biology Symposium on genomic changes associated with plant speciation. I've published a range of papers within that area and also given a range of presentations to international conferences on that. I have worked primarily with a range of natural systems and following evolution in those systems, but more recently moved on to synthetic systems, so those that we can actually manipulate within the laboratory. Well, I've been involved in synthesizing polyploids in the past, so I thought, well, this is possible. I hadn't heard of polyploids being produced in trees before, but we were prepared to have a look at it, and we undertook an investigation as independent scientists to verify whether he had indeed produced polyploid trees. And so that required that we counted the chromosomes in the first instance. We also surveyed the genome content of the plants. And then we undertook a process to look at the DNA and whether those genomes of those polyploids were indeed stable. Well, potentially it can produce a plant that is more resilient to environmental pressures or extreme environments. For example, in Australia there are a large number of marginal lands, whether they have low water, low precipitation or high salt concentrations. And potentially polyploids, trees and plants could be grown on that type of environment, so it could lead to usage of those type of environments. Polyploidy is potentially a process that's simulating a natural process, so it doesn't fall under the category of genetically modified organism. It's part of a tool set that breeders can use to produce improved varieties. Right, so polyploidy does occur in nature from time to time. But basically we can then synthesize the polyploids at will within the lab. So it will just take a process of perhaps 2 or 3 days to generate the polyploids. But that's the easy part. The difficult part is then rescuing those polyploid embryos or seedlings and growing them into established trees. So potentially we could establish wide-scale woodlands or forests, depending on the density, that could help prevent or reverse some of the climate change effects that we have seen.
So a statement like that I take as colossal.
Yeah.
I mean, if you multiply that to all countries around the world that have marginal lands, and we're sitting on this technology that has the ability to do something like this, it's got to be world-changing.
It is potentially, but I think it has to be phrased within the political context. There has been a lack of political will to acknowledge climate change and then to do something about it. I think polyploid trees could provide one of the tools that can be used to help reverse the effects of climate change. So yes, I fully agree with your statement.
What does this technology offer the biodiesel industry?
So potentially it would offer increased oil production per tree, so you would actually increase your literage production of oil from individual trees that were in the ground. So again, you would increase your capacity for production of biodiesel per hectare. With the economic cost of climate change being factored in, then we will see increasing investment in this area. So I think biofuels and polyploid trees, as they could provide that type of energy, are one of a number of new and alternative technologies that can be brought to bear to help tackle some of the climate change issues. So together with solar energy, wind turbine energy, I think the biofuels aspect in terms of production of carbon neutral energy, but also the remediation effects and locking up of carbon that polyploid trees offer, I would expect wide take-up of this type of technology.
I've been involved in taking plants out of the laboratory and bringing them into a nursery environment for about 4 years over a great range of species. What we've got now is the culmination of those years' work, where the first large-scale commercial trial is about to go in. What we've generally found in the nursery to date has been, regardless of the species, the polyploids that are created in the laboratory that come up here are a lot easier to propagate, they're a lot stronger, as well as being a lot faster growing. So our propagation frequency, or the amount that we're able to clonally propagate without losses, rises dramatically. From a scientific point of view, there's not really any question that polyploids grow faster and are stronger and just exhibit better characteristics. The real question has always been about stability. This question's been answered with the university testing.
It's endless. You can't, you can't begin to put your head around it, because virtually every aspect of agriculture you can think of, we can fill a niche. We can literally change the future direction of agriculture on this planet. So, yeah, for me, it's very exciting.